Welcome to Talk Tickers, where we break down the latest earnings calls. Today, we're diving into Mitek's fiscal fourth quarter 2025 results.
All right, let's jump right in. When the numbers hit the wire, the market's reaction was pretty clear, wasn't it? By the next day's close, the stock had shot up almost 9%. That's a big move, and it tells you right away that investors really liked what they heard.
So what exactly was behind that nearly 9% jump? Well, it all starts with the headline numbers. Mitek delivered a classic beat, signaling some really strong momentum as they head into the new year.
And this wasn't just a narrow beat. I mean, look at these figures. They posted 24 cents per share when Wall Street was only looking for 18. And on revenue, they brought in nearly $45 million, cruising right past the $40.7 million everyone expected. They cleared those expectations with a ton of room to spare.
But a headline beat is just the start of the story. So now, let's pop the hood and take a look at the key metrics that are really powering this business.
Now this is the real story here. It's all about that high-quality recurring revenue. Their SaaS revenue jumped 19% year over year in the fourth quarter. For the whole year, that growth actually accelerated to 21%. This is a massive proof point that their big strategic shift is working, and it makes their whole business model so much more predictable.
And that growth is fundamentally changing the company's entire profile. You see, the fraud and identity segment is now the majority of the business and makes up over half of their total revenue. And more importantly, it's the real growth engine here, expanding 15% this past year. So if you still think of Mitek as just the old mobile check deposit company, it's time to update your thinking.
And this growth isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. It's translating directly into cold, hard cash. The company generated an impressive $19.2 million in free cash flow in Q4 alone. For the full year, it was $54 million. That is just a powerful signal of how well this business is run and how healthy the underlying model is.
This kind of performance doesn't just happen by accident. It's all part of a very clear strategic pivot. Management is actually framing the theme for fiscal 26 as Unify and Grow.
And they're signaling this shift loud and clear, starting with how they talk to investors. They've actually changed the reporting segments. What used to be deposits and identity is now check verification and fraud and identity. Now, that's not just a name change. It's a deliberate message to the market that says, hey, we are a fraud and identity platform first.
The CEO, Ed West, really framed this perfectly. He talked about this massive tailwind from generative AI, which is making fraud way cheaper, faster, and more sophisticated for the bad guys. The message is simple. The threat is growing like crazy, and Mitek is positioning itself as the essential partner to help fight back.
Okay, so the past was strong, and the strategy is clear. But what about the future? Let's take a look at their guidance for fiscal 2026.
Management is guiding for total revenue somewhere between $185 and $195 million, which implies about 6% growth. But the really key detail here is the margin guidance. Adjusted EBITDA margin is expected to be between 27 and 30%, which is pretty much flat compared to the 30% they just posted.
So that raises an obvious question, right? If your high-growth fraud and identity business is accelerating, why isn't the company seeing margins expand? Why the flat profitability?
And the answer is that it's a strategic choice. Management was very clear. Fiscal 26 is a reinvestment year. They are deliberately holding margins flat so they can plow that capital right back into the business, specifically into R&D and their sales efforts. They're funding key areas like AI and biometrics to go after this huge opportunity in front of them. Last year proved they could be profitable. This year is all about investing to accelerate that growth.
All right, let's pull all of this together. What does this mean for the stock going forward? Here's our take.
Looking ahead, there are three key things we're going to be watching. First, we need to see them execute on landing those big enterprise deals for their Check Fraud Defender product. Some big ones slipped into this year, so closing those will be a huge proof point. Second, simple consistency. They need to hit their quarterly numbers to build credibility. And third, what they do with their capital. Specifically, they've got some convertible debt maturing in early 2026, and investors will want to see a clear plan for that.
So, where do we land? Our rating is outperform. The strategic pivot is real, and it's clearly working as they reposition themselves as a higher-growth fraud and identity platform. The key catalyst to watch is how they handle that debt. If management announces a clean payoff using their own strong free cash flow, it could remove a major overhang for the stock and really unlock that next leg up.
And that wraps up our breakdown of Mitek's quarter. As always, please remember, this is not financial advice.